Making a move in Halifax right now can be very daunting, especially if you have a house to sell and then you're looking to buy something on the other end. But it doesn't have to be as complicated as you think. So this is a legitimate concern I've been hearing a lot in my business lately is, hey Andrew, we want to sell and we want to buy something else, but there's nowhere to go if we sell our house. Now, that's a definite concern in this market, no doubt. So in other words, the question is, should I sell, then buy, or buy something and then sell my house? And really, I'm here to tell you there's really two paths that you can go down depending on what your situation is, so let's talk about those right now. But before I go any further, if you like this content, click the subscribe button and the like button below. I post 2 videos a week on YouTube about the Halifax real estate market and buyer and seller tips. Also, if you're looking to book a call or a buyer consultation, a seller consultation with me, you can do so below in my Calendly link at a time that's convenient for you. So getting right back to it, option number 1 is sell first and then buy. So what are the pros of this method? Well, one is that you know exactly what you have to work with in terms of the amount of money you have coming in from the sale of your home. So in other words, if we're listing your house at $499,900, everybody has seen it in this market that some of the sale prices have gone crazy. So a lot of times as a realtor, to be perfectly honest with you, it's difficult to price a home, but it's even more difficult to know exactly where it's going to sell because there's so many outliers right now in our marketplace that are just seemingly crazy prices. So if you sell first, you know exactly what kind of equity you have coming out, which might affect your budget on the other end when you buy. Now, the other pro is that we know it's going to sell, but realistically in this market, we know it's going to sell anyway 99.9% of the time, right? So that's not really a huge concern right now in this market. But this method produces a really big con, and the problem with this method is that once you sell your home, you know, you have a closing date that you have to meet and the clock starts ticking. And I'm here to tell you that that clock ticks very, very quickly in this market with little to no inventory. So even though you might think 2 or 3 months is a long time for you to find a house, in this market it is really, really tough. So not only is there extremely low inventory, but not only do you have to find a house that you like and that works for you, which if you're trying to go up to your forever home might be, you know, a little more picky than you were when you bought the first time around years ago. The reality is not only do you have to find the home you like, you also have to win the bid against 10, 12, 20, 30 other offers. So that's kind of the real problem that presents, and it's extremely, extremely stressful as a buyer when you have a deadline that you have to meet and the pressure really comes on really quickly in that situation. So with this method, you really need to have some kind of a backup plan. So you sell your house on April 1st, it closes on July 1st. Well, what if we don't find something? Where are you gonna go? Do you have family you can stay with? Do you have friends you can stay with? Do you have a rental property that you can move into? Maybe you're gonna Airbnb it for the short term. Maybe you have a cottage you could go live at for a couple months in the worst case scenario. But again, you really need to have some kind of a backup plan in this market. So option number 2 is the reverse. You buy something, and then once you buy, then we list your house and sell your house, and we can line up the closing dates accordingly. So option number 2 can be much smoother, but it does pose some more risk. So buy first and then sell your current house. Now, this is a viable option for a lot of people, but it really depends on your financial situation. So a couple things to keep in mind. Number 1, do you already have a down payment for your new purchase, or is it coming out of the equity from your sale of your current home? So if it's coming out of the equity, you're going to need to do some kind of a bridge finance with the bank. So the bank will bridge the loan for your new house. If you close that first, they'll bridge that between the closing date of both houses. So in other words, you close your new house on, say, June 1st, and then your house that you're living in currently closes on June 10th, for example. So the bank will bridge that loan in between. Now, to do that, we're gonna have to have a firm sale on your house. So there is a little bit of risk there because, you know, what if your house doesn't sell? Now, in this market, I would say, depending on what you're trying to sell and what you're going in for as a listing price, you know, it's likely not a really big risk, but I need to know first that you're going to be reasonable on the pricing side. And the other thing to keep in mind with this is if you need a certain value out of the home you're selling to make that move to the next one. So in other words, if you say, okay, well, we're going to list at $399,900, but I really need $475 to move on to this next house. What if we don't get it? So that's kind of the risk, but it really depends on your own financial situation and what you need coming out of this current house to move to the next spot in your life. So again, there's a lot of pros here. It's easier to line up closing dates. It's a little less stressful trying to find a house, and really you take care of the hardest part in this market first, which is finding a home, and then we end up selling yours. In this case, a lot of the times we actually have pictures, video, paperwork, measurements, all that ready to go. And that way, as soon as you find a house, we can list right away and get it on the market. But the cons are there's a little bit more risk, and what if your house doesn't sell? And again, I'm gonna be upfront with you and tell you that when we sit down for a listing appointment of, what do you need out of this house and where are we gonna list and how are we gonna end up there? And if it's something that I think is potentially not gonna work, then I would say we're gonna sell first. But if it's something that I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know for sure we're gonna get $450 out of this, probably a lot more, but I know we're gonna get $450, that's gonna make you happy and able to move on to the next house in whatever budget that you are looking in. Now, this is kind of the quick summary, and honestly, there are so many factors that go into how you're gonna make this decision and what the best way for you logistically to make a move in Halifax is in 2022. But it's my job as your realtor to help guide you through this process. So step one, let's take a look at your current home. What's it worth? What's it gonna sell for? And how difficult is that home gonna be to sell, if at all? And then what are you looking for on the other end? And really, based on those two things and your financial situation, we'll make a sound decision that will put a roadmap together for how you can conquer this market in 2022. I really hope you appreciated this content, and I hope it put some context into you of what we're seeing on the ground level in Halifax. If you have any questions, hit me up on my calendar link below or comment below and I'll answer. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.